hospital.
Thenjiwe, are you listening or watching something in the background?
Can you hear something?
Yeah.
Londi, can you
I can
please
hear.
turn it off, the TV?
Well, I went and I had my wax from my ears removed. I went for my monthly. I have to go see an ENT almost every 2 months because my ears get blocked.
Oh, sorry.
My ears produce excess wax. The pity I can't sell it. Maybe
You should sell.
if they said wax makes sanitizer, I'd be loaded now.
You'd be a rich man.
I'd be selling wax per ton, bro. Hey, thanks for joining us, guys. Thanks for coming over, guys. I asked people to come from my live.
Thank you so much. I see the numbers are growing. Thank you so much, guys.
So yeah,
David,
man, you are stuck in America, hey?
I am stuck in America.
What happened? No, I thought you lived in London. Then you have a Nigerian number. Then I talk to you, I'm thinking you are in London. Next thing you are overseas, real overseas, the original overseas.
The original,
America.
yes.
America.
What happened is I was on tour. When this thing happened, I was in Alabama.
Yeah.
And then we were going from Alabama, we were going to Atlanta. And then Atlanta, we were going to Virginia. We didn't even perform in Virginia. We made it to Virginia. But by the time we got there...
Were you the only comedian performing?
No, there were other comedians.
Okay.
By the time we made it there, they had done a lockdown because here they did it before in South Africa.
Yeah.
And then I had one day to decide whether I'm going back or not. Yeah. I had to think, and I do not have medical aid, my friend. So I was like, okay, this thing, if it gets me, must it get me in South Africa and have to deal with the attitude,
No.
You know government hospitals in South Africa. And not only, usually I can afford because I'm working on it.
Yeah.
But now, how do I afford paying cash for for hospitals when I don't have money? Can you imagine me, MCN? Come on, life size the best medicine. I do not want to.
But now, you being in the US, are you covered from travel insurance or US medical insurance will cover you?
Travel.
Or travel, okay.
I'm covered by travel.
I don't know if people know this, but I think travel insurance is actually cheaper. It works out cheaper if you're traveling a lot.
Yes.
If you didn't pay medical aid in South Africa and you kept buying travel insurance, you're actually better covered. You're actually better covered than...
When I'm at home, put me on a plane. If I get sick, you put me on a plane. I can't afford it. It's too expensive in South Africa.
So now you're stuck there. Can you leave if you want, or you have to write
to the president? There's nothing that I can live with. I cannot leave, and because my visa expires in May.
Are you kidding me?
I'm just hoping, but they are renewing. They are postponed. They're not even fussy.
Is it?
They are very kind. Immigration is very kind these days. They're not even asking questions. Because they understand that you cannot leave. Because even if let's just say, because South Africa, I think they are sending some flights to certain countries to go and collect to repatriate them.
Yeah.
But when you get home, you have to be quarantined for 14 days. Do I want
that? Is New Jersey under lockdown as well?
Yes. We have curfews. We have...
Because New Jersey is like across the river from New York City.
From New York, yes.
Yeah.
And Ilokuzan, did you hear about Nigeria?
No, what's happening? I know Americans send a plane to get
to go and
American citizens out.
That are stuck in Nigeria.
And more Nigerians with American passports showed up.
And then Nigeria sent a plane to go and collect Nigerians from the UK.
Yeah.
Nobody boarded the plane, and the pilot and the crew decided to stay in the UK.
Yeah, lying.
I'm telling you. I am telling you. The pilot and the crew were like, we are not going back. We would rather be cleaners here than go back to Nigeria.
Yo, I know a few people there. A friend of ours, Musito in New York City, was about to come home. He can't. Another friend of mine who's in Minneapolis was coming in March. The family was coming in May. They can't.
Some people were getting married. I was supposed to be doing a wedding in Durban on the 11th and 12th, and it's a London couple. And imagine, they are more worried about their guests who had bought tickets.
Yo, so they were getting married in South Africa?
Yes.
I have a friend as well in Cape Town. He was having a joint 100th birthday. So between him and his wife, I think he's 62 or 64. So the wife would be about 36, 38. And they had a 3-day thing planned for end of April. But a lot of the wife's family is from New Zealand. He lived in London 30 years. And it was this 3-day bash with golf, parties, and it's postponed now indefinitely.
And obviously, a lot of airlines are not even giving back money.
Yeah, they just give you a voucher, hey?
Yeah. I was supposed to be going to Bali in May.
Yeah. And
Singapore Airlines, number one, they've cancelled Singapore because some of the people I was going with were coming from here.
Yeah.
They've cancelled the flight from here indefinitely. I think there's only 1 or 2 flights left. But they're not giving people back.
Africa has
they're giving them vouchers.
And Africa has the lowest infections, but South Africa has the highest in Africa.
Can you imagine?
So they should actually allow us to operate and let flights leave Africa so that
but
those
then
who want
leave to where? Because they'll be leaving to those places and then come back.
My DOP, Pumlani Zobs. This guy has shot a couple of my films.
Hey, Pumlani.
And using my real name here, Mujalefa. Hey, this guy. So, but I was saying, obviously you were supposed to be in the Blacks Only, which would have been this past Saturday.
Yes.
By the way. Yo, it breaks my heart. It broke my bank account. It breaks everything. And obviously that was cancelled. And I can't even apply for this relief fund story because technically my show is postponed, right? But it's cancelled. But we were trying to say people mustn't cancel their tickets or get a refund. They must just keep the tickets for the next show.
Yes.
Which is likely to be Alone Pogsy, but special demedization. So that people can just use their tickets, potentially for the 1st of August. So then I can't qualify for the arts and culture thing because my thing is postponed.
But then do you think people will be attending? Even if this thing finishes now, do you think people will be comfortable enough?
So it depends how soon lockdown is lifted and also what are the infection rates, let's say in a month from now or 2 months from now. Because, jokes, let's Veron. Your name is
go subscribe to our YouTube channels. They are full of jokes.
Let's Veron.
David, there's a question. Can we get an estimate of how much money you lost?
For Blacks Only?
It's a lot.
Yo, guys, let's say we sell 2,500 tickets, average 300 Rand a ticket. We employ a lot of people, so the production is big. It's definitely a couple of 100,000 that the show loses, so before paying everyone. But the casino, all those 2,500 people, a lot of them eat at the restaurants, they arrive early, they drink, and a lot of other people also book accommodation. Because I stay over and I meet a lot of people at breakfast in the morning in some of the hotels, right? So it's per show, Blacks Only, close to it, definitely over R1 million worth of business around the show.
And also before even the show, the money you've lost just preparing for the
marketing,
show.
Yeah.
because you pay for marketing, things like posters, you pay for radio ads, you pay for, it's a lot of money.
No, you can go bankrupt from like one event.
Yeah.
You know, if something goes wrong. And it's a tricky one, like I said, because it's not like it's cancelled. It's postponed, but it does mean I've got this hole now that I would have made certain amount of money. Some comedians would have made money. Casino would have made money. So postponing it to 1st August just means we would be doing our second show for the year.
Yes, and it has a roll-on effect because every comedian says, for example, me, when I have a show, I would have, my makeup artist would have been paid. Driver gets paid. So it's a lot of people who are losing money, not just the comedian.
No, it's a big, and that's just my show and
people,
one
like
show, right? Kumba has got a tour cancelled. Riyad Musa has got a tour cancelled. Mpo Pops has got a tour cancelled. Sfiso Nene has got a tour cancelled. You were getting paid in dollars, and all that's cancelled.
All that is cancelled. And you know what is even more scary now? Like yesterday, I was so down. I got another call. One of the jobs that was still remaining, they called to say they don't think it's going to happen, and it was supposed to happen in September.
Yeah.
So if they're canceling things that are meant to happen in September.
I think this is where our conversation, lately, you and I, almost every day, we've been talking about our YouTube channels.
Yes. So how can comedians survive?
Yeah. So obviously, you know, Instagram, Facebook, we are not making money from those things. We need to drive our traffic to our YouTube channels.
Yes.
So for me, that's where I'll be living, honestly. I'm editing a lot of my recorded stand-up comedy shows that are never used. Shows are never released. I'm prepping them now to put them on my YouTube channel. And obviously, we need people to subscribe. People have to watch. Even if you're not watching, just leave your computer playing my video or Thenjiwe's video.
And watch the ads, because the adverts are what gets us some revenue. I don't know what's happening. It's Hope says the picture is so bleak. I am sorry, Hope. I do not know how to sort it up. Partner with Global Citizen. Hey, Slungile. It all sounds so easy on paper, but these things are not easy. It is not. A lot of them, it's who you know. Why not host a lockdown comedy session like they do with house parties on Channel O and generate revenue advertising? It's difficult because you need to have advertisers. You need to have advertisers. And without a team to get you advertisers, it becomes so difficult. After this, we'll definitely joining your channels, guys. Thank you. Yep, David is back.
I don't know what's going on. I thought I was ahead with technology, you know.
Technology will show you what you are not born free.
No, so what people must understand.
Oh, sorry, there's someone saying, Mrs. Dandose, you guys should check Crowdcast to help with your events. Me now, I have joined GoFundMe because I was supposed to be shooting a movie. Yeah. So I joined GoFundMe because I am looking for donations, guys, anything. Because number one, we like to own our material.
Content.
We like to own our content rather than doing it and getting 2 cents from a channel. Yeah. So with this thing happening, because we sponsor our things from our stand-up comedy money. Now, no stand-up comedy.
No, you do not pay when you subscribe to YouTube.
Oh, someone is asking.
Yeah.
No, YouTube, it is free to subscribe. I think the word subscribe confuses people.
Yeah.
It's like you follow. It's like how you follow.
I won't say whose fault that is in this country, but no, you don't pay when you subscribe to YouTube.
You do not. It's free.
Yeah, look, I've set up a go get fund me or go,
Go
get
get
fund me.
Mm.
Yeah, I've set up a page. I must just launch it because again, I wanna use the money to go into post production with all this footage I have sitting. I was telling Riyad Musa today, before Black Only for 4 years, I did a show called Comedy Blackout.
Mm.
It was just me, Ronnie Mutimula, Kagiso, Tsepo Mokhale, right? We
I
were the
hope you
only
have
black
footage.
comedians.
That's
I've
a
got
great
footage, but it's on those tapes from the DV coders, and I want to
They
get
can
them coders.
definitely put them on
Yeah.
new technology.
Then I started recording. I've got from the first ever Blacks Only comedy show 16, 17 years ago. I've got that on tape. So I have like years and years and years of comedy footage behind the scenes, going on tour, going on tour to Makufe, going on tour on More Jokes, Nabosia in the Eastern Cape, Usiaseya. No, when you subscribe, we don't get paid, but we get paid from views. But it helps the more subscribers we have.
What happens, how YouTube works is when you watch, you will notice that there are adverts that's play during the video, just like TV. Yeah. And then YouTube will pay us some money based on you watching the ads.
Yeah, per CPM it's called. And South Africa is one of the highest CPMs on YouTube.
Someone was asking David, why don't we do comedy lockdown just like the musicians and DJs are doing and get sponsors?
Because, so this is how a lot of sponsors work, and no one name in particular. If you follow sponsorship history in South Africa, a lot of it is alcohol and a lot of it is music and football. So you almost don't need any intelligence to having people in a room and playing music, right?
Yes.
I say a lot of sponsors, as long as you can put black people in a room and play music, they don't really care. And even those events and those sponsorships are still different than how white sponsored events are treated.
Yep.
So a lot of the sponsorship is in product. So people are actually given alcohol that they have to sell at the events to make money for themselves. So the event organizer or the DJ still have to move volumes or so-called volumes or product for them to make any money from a lot of these sponsored shows. So with a comedy show where people have to come and sit down and we literally stop the bar during performance, right? Because we don't want people moving up and down, waiters moving up and down.
It's like sitting in a lecture.
Comedy is it's such a simple old tradition, It's the comedian and the audience that's listening to the comedian. And that's all it is. And you're either laughing or you're not laughing, So yes, we can get sponsor. Yes, we can get online and produce content. Not stand in front of you guys now and start doing stand-up comedy, because that's not stand-up comedy. We can do that, but we must call it something else. We can do that easily. We can sit here and I can start telling you guys jokes or trying to make you laugh, but we must call it something else. It wouldn't be stand-up comedy or a live show, a comedy show, right? But we can go have talk shows, do comedy skits, put them on Instagram, Twitter, put them on YouTube. YouTube is the only place they'll make money. And we can still get partners or sponsors, which is what's called branded content, which I did a lot of it with General Motors, with David Carl's house. That's how I was able to make David Carl's house, because I had all these cars from General Motors and petrol money and blah, blah, blah. I could drive comedians all over the country. I was doing shows everywhere. So, and then I'll do a bit of product placement and put the cars in front of my house when I'm shooting David Carl's house, etc. So there are ways we can come out of this thing and survive and make some money, but it takes money to make money. So
it takes money to make money. And I think also we need to be honest to our audience.
Yeah. And also when you have a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter, I mean, Black Coffee did one. I think he raised 70,000 rand when he was playing on Saturday, right? Which for now you can afford to give the money away. So when we do that, obviously then you want to have the initial funding, anyone who's paying for development funding for you to produce or make anything will likely own that product.
Yeah.
But then they're the ones paying the script writer, they're paying for the idea. So they're paying for the roots that are actually making and the foundation that's actually making whatever it is that you're trying to make, right? So yes, I finished shooting my new movie. Geez, I finished that in October and December. I shot 2 movies last year, which were supposed to come out, one in June, one in October, but we'll see how that goes. Because those are supposed to go to the cinemas, right? So things like GoFundMe, even if you were not donating, you are technically pre-buying footage or shows or content from us. That's all it is. That's where then, depending on the rewards, some people, you might donate so much and we'll give you free tickets to our next shows.
Yes.
Donate so much, you get a copy of the movie or DVD or show that we're making.
And
you
some
get
people
it in
will
advance.
donate like big money. Instead of the 20 rands, they'll be like, I'll give you 100,000, but I want credits as an executive producer.
As a producer. Yeah. Yeah. So, Tabangi ER says, lockdown shows were recorded way before lockdown. We didn't have Tabangi ER is a comedian from Limpopo, guys. Our lockdown music shows were pre-recorded.
Okay, we have some questions here. There is one from Stop Nonsense. Hi, Stop Nonsense. Why
Let me
is there
scroll.
a huge sense of entitlement of the industry from comedians who have been in the industry for longer?
You have to be specific because it's not something
for
you
me,
can
I think everyone who does anything with a passion becomes protective of it. And they become careful. Because comedy is one game where you prove yourself. Because in order for you to start, you come and do open mics. And then after doing open mics, that's when people decide, because let's put him this, let's next time come and open. And there's no amount of time. It's not like you do 7 open mics. Some people do 1 open mic, the next show they are booked. Some people do open mics for 20 years. Some people do open mics for 4 years. But
that's all over the world, by the way.
Yes, and I think the problem that comedy is facing is skits comedians, people who are funny and trend with one video on social media, and then think they are now stand-up comedians.
So that's the difference, right?
And then everyone is a creator. I have a following, but you're not a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, so but it's a skill, right? So especially because Stop Nonsense asked the question. So I don't know Stop Nonsense from comedy clubs, but I know that because of the work he was doing on social media, he built his own following, right?
Yes.
But for me to book anyone on my stand-up comedy show, I have to see them performing somewhere.
Stand-up comedy.
Yeah, doing stand-up comedy. I don't care how famous you are. That's why 90% of acts on Blacks Only are not famous comedians. They are mostly new comedians
or
up-and-coming comedians. Yeah, it's got nothing to do with whether you are famous or not. So a lot of up-and-coming guys, some of them are already famous. Some of them are in soapies, in telenovelas, in TV shows, and not just online making skits, right? But when I go to a stand-up comedy show and I'm looking at a stand-up comedian, there's things that I'm looking at, and I'm also checking if I put them on my stage at my shows, if they're going to relate to that particular audience. And I'm speaking for myself, I can't speak for the industry per such, because what I've been doing is very simple. I've been doing it for years and years and years, So, and it's a formula that it's a standard, it's a tradition of stand-up comedy anywhere in the world. But it's up to the guys that are young, new, up and coming. They get famous quicker from social media, from television. It's up to them if they want to be performing with certain stand-up comedians or in certain shows. Because then they have to leave their world and jump into the stand-up comedy where they must go to clubs, they must do open mics. So that's why you can be as famous as you are. You go to Joe Parker and you think he's gonna book you, and he still makes you do an open mic gig.
Yes,
You
if you are
understand?
lucky.
Because he hasn't
It
seen
makes you
you.
do
Yeah,
an open mic if you are lucky.
yeah.
Or
Because
if
he
you,
hasn't.
you come
So
high
what
for
they don't know, is in the States, there's clubs where you must bring paying to come and watch you. And there's a minimum 2 drinks that they must pay for in dollars for you to be allowed an open mic slot.
Yes.
Not a pay. Not
And
a pay.
some clubs you have to bring 2 people to watch you.
Yes.
Or some
So,
they bring a comedy club, some have minimum 2 drinks.
yeah. So, but equally, if a club in New York knows I've been doing stand-up comedy and I've done this and this and that, I can't get on stage in that club. Not because I'm famous on social. So because they are famous on social media or they've been doing skits on social. I don't work like that.
And
I
get a lot of
can
inboxes,
choose
David,
also who I.
of people saying
Yeah.
how funny they are and how they should be booked. And my question is always, how many comedy clubs have you attended? And most of them, because I've been going, attend comedy.
You better stop nonsense. It's so flashy.
And then
you can't judge
I don't know
people.
what's happening with my.
Okay, I'll keep reading the questions here while you sort yourself out. Can comedians
I don't know what's happening with my
content
voice.
in the form of tracks on Spotify or iTunes?
Oh,
You just release it as an audio album.
I thought if you are on TV and increase their viewership, you're bringing value to the channel and they would have to pay for. I believe you guys can increase viewership. Is there any credit to this? TV in South Africa.
That's standard, but television and audience and viewership has nothing to do with how much people get paid. Televisions contract production houses or producers who then contract and hire and make an offer to actors or comedians. So SABC does not decide how much money the cast of Generations gets. And Mnet or Mzansi does not decide the salary of actors in a telenovela. They have their own deal they make with a production house. So I'll make you guys an example. Pure Monati show was mine and Kagiso's show. We then went and hired 9 other comedians, which we paid out of our own pockets. We didn't take a salary from the first season of Pure Monati show. I made 15 grand from season 2 of Pure Monati show. So that's all the money I made from 2 seasons of the Pure Monati show. Because I'd rock up one day, Kagiso would be like, okay, yeah, no, we're not taking a salary. We're gonna do this. And then I'll be like, fuck, dude. Okay, fine. And that's how we built the Pure Monati show. But that's also how we got everyone else involved in the industry. But we paid the writers from Salah Sabiti and them to Botsepo, Riyad, Chris Forrest, Ronnie Mutimola, Bolu. So we paid everyone else, right? But that's how we work, and those are the choices we made.
And then comedians always think we need Maliab.
Anyone who, as soon as you put them in a lineup or in a show or in a movie, they think the money that's there, it's for them. Which, no problem, then you must go and do the same thing. Go and get your own movie, go and start your own production company, produce your own shows, which is really the easiest way to sort out this conversation about promoters and actors and producers and comedians, because everyone will always complain, bruh. It doesn't matter who they are or how much you're giving them, or whether it's a Mzansi, Blockchain Bioscope, low budget movie, or it's a Blitz Patroli, or it's a Black Songly, or it's a club gig or your birthday. People will always complain and not be happy. But the thing about this business, it is a take it or leave it business. And there's always someone waiting to take your spot or the same gig, you know. Out there, some people act like they're united, but once the doors are closed or they hang up phones, everybody's looking after themselves.
And can I just also say that social media has been good. It has been good for us. We are able to advertise our work, but social media is a liar. Because you look at the numbers that we have on social media, we should all be filling stadiums. I've got 85,000 on YouTube. I've got over 250,000 on Instagram. I've got over 300,000 on Facebook. I should be able to fill up a stadium. Can I even do a show with 3,500 people without sweating even elbows?
So that's what I like about. So I'm gonna go back to Stop Nonsense as an example, because I think what Stop Nonsense also must realize is he mustn't put himself in a box and think he came from online and social media and older comedians might not like him because he's popular or whatever, or he's trying to do stand-up. I've seen him do stand-up. I thought he was funny and I booked him. I don't care if he had 1 follower or 100,000. It doesn't matter to me. But what he must be careful of is he mustn't put himself in a box where he thinks those guys don't like those guys. I've never done comedy like that in my life. And that's what all these young comedians have been doing most of their careers. You know, they think there's beefs, they think there's cliques. They've put themselves into groupings of, we don't like that one, we like there's some hip hop beef going on. And that's a waste of time, because comedy boils down to one person. You're either funny or you're not. There are no group sketches here that we're doing. There's no improvisation sketches that we're doing. So it's not like a record label where you do have rappers from the South and rappers from the East or West, or rappers or musicians from Durban or musicians from Kalawa and 999. There is no such thing in comedy. You're either doing certain type of comedy and people follow it, or you're not, or you're doing a different type of comedy. So you can't, again, always be saying, but those comedians, older ones, don't like us young. I don't give a shit. If you're a younger comedian and you're shit, you're shit. Nothing's going to change that. If you're an older comedian and you're shit, you're shit. Nothing
and
is going to
comedy
change
is an easiest formula. You go to a venue, you book the venue, you tell people I'm going to be having a show, people come and watch you.
Someone says, can I ask you something, mister? But people have been asking. Ask away, ask away. Fly Motion Devon says, is the language a barrier? No, Baba, language is up to you. Everybody decides. There's no school here. There are no rules. There's no licenses and regulations. You can speak whatever language you want, but if you want to speak Zulu to a white audience who don't understand Zulu, that's also for you to deal with. It's not for me to say to you, don't speak Zulu, right? Blacks only exist purely because anybody can perform in whatever language that they want to perform in. So
I
if
think
they
people must not put themselves under pressure to speak in English. Number one, we cannot translate jokes. A lot of jokes, you cannot say them in English the way you say them in your vernac.
Yeah.
We have more Zulu speakers in the country. It's just that you have to know your audience, advertise yourself to your audience, and just be okay with what you do. A lot of people always ask me with my skits, why don't you do them in English? And I tell them, yes, if I do them in English, I get, you'll find that the video is trending even in Kenya. But I started this for this audience. And there are things, because also comedy is our way of expressing ourselves, which is why sometimes it's harder for us to get our sponsors, because we are not sluts. So we are delivering a message.
So this is the thing, right? People see you or your skits going viral in Zulu. And because they don't go to comedy clubs, they think there's this Zulu chick who does skits or skits in Zulu, right? Which is why I was saying I used to actually get pissed off because white people would send me your skits from WhatsApp groups, but they were not branded. So I didn't know, well, I mean, I knew you, but they couldn't follow you on YouTube or Twitter or whatever. And, but here you are, you were stuck in lockdown in the US because you were touring the US. So now people are sitting there going, but I thought she only performs in Zulu. But my point is, if you're in New York or New Jersey and you're in Alabama, you're obviously going to perform. Not only are you performing in English, you have to even change the way you talk for that audience
to be able
understand
to understand
what
you,
you're
and also
saying.
the point of reference, the
Right?
things you talk about.
Yes.
You
You
cannot
can't
talk
say
about
water,
things that
you
are
need
not
to say
relevant to
water.
them.
Yeah. But
And
this
I'll
is
tell
things
you
that
why I never branded my skits, because when you watch it, I want you to laugh because it's funny, not because it says Thenjiwe comedy. I don't want to tell you it's comedy. I want you to laugh because this woman is crazy. I don't want to tell you it's comedy. I want to confuse you until you find out, oh yeah, she was just joking, it's comedy. Mind you, if I brand it with Thenjiwe comedy, before you even watch it, you already know which is someone making a joke.
you must do it at the end. That's all you have to change. If
Yeah.
you want to do something
which
like
I'm working on now. I've started doing that now. What you call it, ultra.
Yeah.
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 Before I wasn't even doing that.
For me, I'm excited about South African comedy. First of all, the biggest growing comedy is vernacular comedy. That's a fact.
Nangumbali, Zulu, Uti Mr. D, you've been in this industry for so long, you shouldn't be in donation now.
Where's that?
I don't know, but it says it's from Bali Z to Zulu. Mr. D, you've been in this industry so long, you shouldn't be in donation now. I think people don't understand how much money you lose doing these shows.
It's not about, so I'll make it very simple. I've spent more of money that I've made on other comedians. Right? And I you know, there's cars driven by other comedians in my name. There's places where people have lived and the name with the places.
But in order for you to keep producing stuff.
Yeah, but the difference is I did all these things. There was a time it was just me in my life and obviously my extended family. Then there was me and my wife. Then there was me and my wife and one child. And now I've got 3 kids, right? So now I love Siyaseya. You know, I think Siyaseya could be the next best thing.
He is.
But
he is
I
so
can't do what I used to do with money 5 years ago or 10 years ago all my life. You know, it would have been easy. I can easily call Sia, get in my car. I was sponsored by General Motors. I know people that have dealerships and say to him, here's a car, here's how you can get to gigs and pay and produce his tour, which I've done. You know, I've done it over and over and over. So it's either an Mnet or SABC or an arts and culture comes in and does what they should have done when I was doing it, by the way, which I did with my own money. It's either they do that, which they're not doing. That's why you can see the rate of how many comedians come into the industry or how many people are staying at a certain level and they're not growing, or how many comedians potentially. It's like, I don't know if he's still here. You know, we did So You Think You're Funny with Bonke Shipalana. Now 11, 12 years ago, right?
That's where a lot of comedians were discovered.
Tatsu Nkonzo, Fiso Nene won season 1, N-Hash won season 2, Celeste Ntuli, Mpo Pops,
Kanyisa
Bunu, Tips. So out of just 2 seasons, there's almost 10 comedians that come from a show that we stopped doing 10 years ago. So if Fanta or another sponsor had come on board and stayed on board, there would be 10 times as many or 10 times as big an industry of South African vernacular comedy even. And so many comedians making money on their own, producing their own shows, producing their own TV shows, like Sfiso is doing, like Tips is doing. You understand? Like Pops is now doing. So, but because I stopped and me and Bonke stopped, so you think there was nothing. Not even a whole channel.
And how can you bring it back?
Because it meant then we must use our own money. So I'm answering a question of what does fundraising or get funding do? You raise the money and you decide what to do with the money, right? And remember, people donate at free will. So if I want to raise money and say I don't want to leave my house, I'm going to work from home, and whoever is donating, I'll send them links to watch my content. That's a choice I'm making. It's got nothing to do with how much money I have now or I don't have. In fact, the more people have money, the more they actually realize they need to raise money. Bill Gates is one of the richest people in the world, and he goes asking other rich people for money.
Yep.
Or them to donate
Not
their
just
money.
rich people.
He's not stupid
everyone.
because he knows he wouldn't be able to sustain giving away all the money he has. Then he wouldn't be Bill Gates. He wouldn't have the influence that he has, you know? So money is easy. For me, money has been one of the easiest things to make. That's why I used to give it away, right? Because
we're about to reach an hour, which means we're going to have to go out and then come back again. Everyone, please come back with us when we come back. But I've got one last question from TT Pasha, the comedian. Does being popular mess with your progress as a stand-up comedian?
It depends entirely on you, how you carry yourself, you know, what type of a person you are, you know. Some people become assholes when they're rich. Some people become assholes when they have money. Some people don't.
And also, what people need to understand is popularity or fame is not a reflection of how much you are making.
And it's not a reflection of how funny you are either.
So many award-winning comedians, very popular, are sleeping on the floor with their awards. They don't even have a room divider with Fagama Award. So popularity and fame must never be confused with Kuzan. Number one, must not be confused with how funny you are, and it must not be confused with how much money you have. So many of us, South Africa especially, have fame but no fortune.
Yeah, I hope I answered Mbal Zulu. I don't know if she's still here. I'm trying to scroll for other questions.
Okay, guys, I'm going to go out because I don't want this to kick me out because I want to try and save it so that it can be available somewhere. But I'm going to come back right to mine. Back in.
Come back to mine. Send me a request, then you can continue on mine. I'll stay.
Okay, we are moving to David Gau's thingy. So go live on yours, then I'll come and join in.
Yeah, okay, Sharp. I'll stay.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Catch you on David Gau.
Come back, guys. Come back.